On to this video that you're about to see. Me and Big E done this about a week ago, and we had a nice little intro made for it, and our camera, the file did not work out exactly right. But I'll just go through and explain since Big E has decided to ditch me and go swimming. So we're doing a test today on accuracy, penetration, and arrow flight from a Super Drive 23 and a Carbon Express Wolverine hunting setup. I just want to give you guys a little background information on this stuff. This is something that me and Big E like to do. He loves to be in the outdoors and he loves to do stuff like this. So anytime that you can take a child out in the outdoors, get them hooked onto something that they like to do, I would highly encourage that. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe, like our videos, feel free to comment on our videos. This is something that I don't really care too much about, but that's something that my kids, especially Big E, he loves doing this kind of stuff, so if that's what he likes to do, that's what we're going to do. So, enjoy the video. Ready to do our accuracy test with the Wolverines by Carbon Express. We're going to shoot a 3-arrow group. I've turned this dot on my sight, so hopefully that you can see it. And you see how it just illuminates that little green dot, and you can adjust that. Now I got it turned that high, and I'm going to actually click it down before I shoot it to make the pin definition go down. I like mine to be at like 0.19 or even smaller, because I like for it to be where you can really get precision. We also placed a little white piece of paper on the deer target to simulate a heart shot or a 12 ring, whichever way you want to how you want to take it, so that we can really it gives us something really we can see to aim at, and it also gives us a reference on the deer of where, when you're again with children, teaching them, hey, this is where you should aim at. You're going right straight up the front leg, scooting back just a little bit. For Big E, like when he goes hunting this year, I'm going to be saying just aim mid-body where we can get a good double lung shot, but for precision wise, that's pretty close where a deer's heart should be. But let's see what we can do. All right, Big E, give me a bullet. Let me adjust my sight. All right. And comment below, do you think that, how good, like your setup, what do you use for your setup? Do you like using lighter arrows, heavier arrows? Hopefully this will give you some insight on it. Alright, here we go.
That's good.
And you see that these arrows, like I say, this is my hunting setup. I've shot these arrows a bunch, but they're basically touching each other. A lot of people say, well, if you can reach around them, you could reach around those well easily. Very good. If you want to bring the camera around on the back side, Marissa, or Mama E, I should say. And that kind of gives you an idea of the penetration that these arrows have, because they're going through the same amount of foam. And that gives you basically, if you average those, you're going to have this arrow right here for your penetration. So you're looking at, this is just through foam, you're probably looking anywhere from 8 to 10 inch penetration. So now we're going to shoot the Super Drive 23. Like I say, these are custom built. This arrow is a lot lighter, so I have to mentally remember to adjust this on my sight tape. The way I did this is I took my sight tape and sighted it in for the target shooting, so that I didn't have to remember a whole lot. And if when she zoomed in, you might have looked like something that looked like I actually took a knife and just kind of scratched it a little bit, because I tried a marker and it wouldn't stick. But that way that I'm, again, being able to do two things with one bow same setup, not having to change a bunch. So we're going to shoot the Super Drive 23 through it, and then we'll go up and compare it. Alright, and then a lot of things that you'll notice is, to me, the biggest thing that I notice when I'm shooting these arrows compared to the hunting arrows is the sound itself. My bow is super quiet shooting the target arrows because it's launching a lighter projectile a lot faster. And these vanes are custom made for these arrows to give it the best arrow whatever. And then on the back side, you're going to see, and like just from this test, you're going to see that, hey, the Super Drives has got just as much penetration. Well, they will have, because of where I shot it on the foam. You're shooting in an area that's already been shot a couple of times. That foam is very soft because we've shot this target before. But when we do our penetration test, we're actually going to shoot into a part of the deer that's never been shot before to get side by side. I'm actually going to scoot it over here, way over in the shoulder, and we're going to shoot both arrows side by side into roughly the same amount of foam to give us the penetration test that we needed. We're going to do that next. Stay tuned. So now we're going to do the penetration test of the two arrows. And like I say, the first test, we just kind of showed that, but this is going to be a true test of and again, we're just shooting into foam. Now that will make a big difference, but it still kind of gives you a general idea of how much kinetic energy each arrow is carrying at the point of impact through the foam, and how much force and how much drag. Now, as we go into this, we're going to shoot a part of the deer that's never been shot before. And to get a little sciencey with you here before we shoot, this is like the equivalent of, say, you're 40 foot up in the air on the top of a building, and you drop a tennis ball versus a bowling ball. This being the tennis ball, it's light, it's aerodynamic, it's traveling much faster. But this is a bowling ball. It's a little bit heavier. It's going to take a little bit longer to get there, but which one's going to have the most impact when they hit the ground? Kind of to break it into simpleton, make it simple. But we're going to shoot the hunting arrow first, then we're going to shoot the Super Drive, and you'll see me adjust my sight tape just for that, and we're just standing at 20 yards. So it won't be a huge difference for arrow flight. We're going to back them up where you can really see them. All right, Bone, hold down. Hunting arrow, downrange. Now we're going to shoot the Super Drive, downrange. And notice, I don't know how good it's showing up on the video, but you can physically hear a huge difference when the arrows make contact with the target. The Super Drive was thump. The hunting arrow was a little bit more quieter because the diameter of the arrow is smaller, and you're going to see that when we get up here. Now you will see that I meant to shoot a little bit to the right, just so that on the penetration test we can really see a difference. Both arrows flew true, both arrows look good, but when we come back here to look at the penetration test, we can really see the difference in the hunting setup versus the target setup. Again, that piece of foam never been shot. Same thickness. You're looking at a 4-finger. That's probably 3.5 inch difference in penetration for the hunting arrow versus the target arrow. And like I say, you could physically hear the difference when the arrows hit. This arrow didn't have the big thump. When the Super Drive hit, it was thump. It was really loud because that big diameter arrow's got more drag, more force to slow it down.
First one again.
This is the Super Drive right here. He's got his thumb in, or his pinky in, and this is the hunting arrow I have my thumb in. Shows you the difference in the diameters of the arrow. For our last test, we're going to do arrow flight. Now, it's kind of the larger distance that you shoot, you can really tell how your arrows are flying. Now, both of these arrows have been paper tuned through this bow, which really goes to show you, to me, a lot about the bow itself, because the Super Drive is, when I bought it, this is the setup that they set it up for. And I've not touched it. The D-loop was set up for it, the rest was set up for it, everything was set up for the Super Drive. So when the hunting arrow come into play, that wasn't set up for exactly for this arrow. Now if you go to a bow shop and you buy a bow and you just want to hunt with, they'll set your bow up strictly to your hunting setup. Me, I didn't, that wasn't the method that I went. So when I started to get ready to hunt, it took a little bit of tweaking, not necessarily on the bow itself. It took me having to get my mechanics the same way every time to make the hunting arrows hit where I wanted them to hit. And the biggest thing I can tell you to do that is to shoot your bow at longer yardages, because it will tell on you in a hurry. Now, I would not recommend that you go get a target like this and start shooting 60, 80, 100 yard shots. I would recommend like a speed bag with a bank behind it or something, because you're going to miss. You know, you're going to miss eventually. But that's kind of like me. It made me go through a mental checklist every time that I shoot. But we're going to do arrow flight, and I want you to actually try to listen from the time that the bow goes off till it hits the target, which is crazy for me to tell you that, but you're actually, if you compare them, you're going to be able to hear a difference. So we are at about 37 yards, give or take a yard. I don't have my rangefinder out here. That's just me guessing the yardage. Me and Big A's going to let one fly down range. Now this is the hunting setup, and I want you to listen to the arrow as it flies. You can almost, you can hear that little shh, and it get there, because what is happening is that arrow is actually, can you see me through the screen? Mm-hmm. That arrow is actually going up and then coming back down. Like it's leaving, it's having to go up, gravity's taking effect, it's coming back. Now we're only at 35 yards, but you got to think, even with a VXR that's shooting, this bow's probably shooting about 270, 275 feet per second. With a hunting setup, you're still seeing gravity and that projectile take a big whoop to get there. Now this one, it won't do that. It's going to go whoop. It's going to be flat, and you'll hear it as we shoot it. I know on my sight tape I've got to make a dramatic change just due to the weight itself. And again, you notice you didn't hear that speed. You didn't, like Ethan, do the sound again. You didn't hear that because those blazer vanes are custom made for that. You don't hear that. It's just boom, and it's there. So, and again, we wanted to do this test. You see a lot of people trying to do these tests, heavy arrows versus light arrows. Well, I'm not doing 800 grain versus a 300 grain, but I'm doing a custom-made target arrow, which is super light. I didn't sell the grain. I would say that arrow's probably maxed out 400 grains versus going up against the arrow that's close to 575, 600 grains. So big difference there. So for those of you, it'd be like the equivalent of shooting a 22 versus a 30-06. That's to kind of give you an equivalent to it. So let's go look and see, just to take a gander to see how they look. Let's go look. And you can see as the camera comes up, just the simple the distance on my sight tape, that is about a 7-yard difference from the hunting setup to the target setup. And this is the first time I've really shot this bow all year. But still, for this test, both of them have performed extremely good. Another thing, as she comes up, I want you to see how the arrows are entering the target. And you will notice that the hunting arrow almost has a little kick down to it versus where the target arrow is straight in. And that's where the speed is coming into play. Because this arrow, when it actually comes in, is actually coming in like this, and then the foam is kicking it down. Where this arrow is coming in straight. And then back here, as she comes from Pandra, you're going to really see the difference in the penetration. At a 35 yard, you're looking at probably 8 more inches penetration that the hunting arrow has, because it's got so much kinetic energy coming down. The speedy arrow is losing energy as it travels. I'm going to let you pull the trigger on it, okay? Just squeeze it up. There you go. Now, it'll be a little harder to squeeze when you're back there, okay? So, what we're going to do is, again, the reason that we're doing this is just teaching, trying to teach, and it is hard to teach this stuff for him to be able to do, because he's this big massive guy here. To get a bow that's going to shoot 20 yards is about impossible. But what we're going to do is we're going to test my nerves and we're going to see how steady that I'm holding a bow, because I'm not going to pull the trigger. And we're going to do this just like a real life hunting situation, okay? What do you do? What do we always do when we're going to shoot a deer? What do you do? Yeah, real loud. Alright, you ready? Here we go. Hold on, let me turn my side up. I want you to kill him, okay? Wait till I move my finger. Alright. Okay, stop him. Bam, baby!
Nice, see?
Let's go see if you smoke.
Let's see what you did.
Dad, I've been doing it.
And if that's a real live deer, Mama can go get the knife, because we are dragging you shot his old goober out. Hold it up there.
Good job, bud.